Hello and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Talking Football, and tonight with an in-depth look at the German and French leagues. With me here again is Amit Lewinthal, football analyst for the Israel Hayom Daily. Hi Amit, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Who are the surprising leaders in Germany, and is there any serious challenge for Paris Saint-Germain in France? All that and more coming up. We begin with Bayern Munich, and their problem is that the beginning of last season was so impressive that anything below that is disappointing. They share the first place, Amit, and yet we're disappointed with them because they didn't beat Hamburg this weekend.
Yes, two first away games, they draw. It's not impressive as last season. You must, take into account the objective problems, players coming back very late after the World Cup, Germany, winning it. And also Guardiola took his lesson last season when Bayern was very impressive. They won the Champions League in record time.
And cost them in April and May when you win trophies.
Exactly, and then there was the level of tension in the team was brought down, and you saw it in the 4-0 loss to Real Madrid in the semi-final of the Champions League. This time, Guardiola knows that Bayern will be at the top and that the money, is on the table at spring.
And plus, we look at their squad. I mean, it's Manuel Neuer, it's Lewandowski who came in, Mario Götze, Philipp Lahm. Is there any real challenge for them in Germany?
Well, Borussia Dortmund might maybe give them a challenge, but it's not. They are not as near, as talented and strong as Bayern Munich. They have talented players, Dortmund. But Bayern is in the league of its own and one of the biggest teams in Europe. In Germany, they don't have any competition economically and professionally.
Now, you mentioned Borussia Dortmund. They seem a bit like Atletico Madrid in Spain. They are very good against the big teams. We saw that in midweek against Arsenal in the Champions League. Then they come back and they lose to Mainz.
Yes, because the philosophy of Jurgen Klopp, the coach, is gegenpressing, what he calls it. Pressure high on the pitch, then stealing the ball and going direct to attack, scoring on counter attacks. That's the two goals scored against Arsenal.
That's how they scored against Arsenal.
They were both on exquisite counter attacks, and you have this problem when you play against teams like Mainz.
They close on defense,
exactly.
And then it's tough for the
exactly.
Dortmund.
It's tougher, and you have to mention as well the fact that playing in the Champions League and the league is not simple, especially to teams with not the biggest squad in the world, and Dortmund has some injuries like Marco Reus and Hummels. So yeah, it's difficult. We saw in England as well. Many teams played in the Champions League and lost.
So Borussia Dortmund at the moment unable to keep up with Bayern Munich. They lost. Still, the biggest story in Germany is not the one from Munich and not the one from Dortmund. It's Paderborn with this beautiful goal from Moritz Stoppelkamp. Amit, first 83-meter goal. That's beautiful. They will not be up there at the end of the season, but still, it's nice to see refreshing names every once in a while.
Hey, of course. A friend of mine from Germany reminded me that a few years ago Düsseldorf had this amazing start, but then the results didn't continue the same way, and by February their coach was sacked. So we don't need to. But it's very nice. Paderborn is in the first year in the Bundesliga ever. And no one expected them, to have this unbeaten record after 4 games and be top. And it's a marvelous goal,
And we can watch this again and again. Beautiful goal. At least they have the record for the furthest goal in the history of the Bundesliga. In other results from Germany, Bayer Leverkusen lose 4-1 in Wolfsburg, and Hoffenheim are still up front with the leaders after they win 2-0 in Stuttgart, who are deep in relegation zone. 4 teams share the top spot with 8 points. Tiny Paderborn, along with Mainz, Hoffenheim, and Bayern Munich. And Paderborn will meet Bayern Munich tonight in midweek action. Who would have thought these two would share the top? Leverkusen and Hanover are further down with 7 points. Dortmund are only 10th with 6 points. Now to France, and maybe there's a new team to watch out for. Marseille is the only French team who ever won the Champions League. That was more than 20 years ago. Now are they on their way back? They won 4 in a row. This weekend it was 3-0 against Rennes. They scored 10 goals in their last 3 matches and have a very experienced coach. Amit, Marcelo Bielsa, is that how they can challenge Paris Saint-Germain?
Well, that's the only way, is to bring in a spectacular coach, the Argentinian Bielsa. He had so many successes in his career. He's well known for his, discipline, and his teams always play very attractive football, 3-4-3 system. And he came into Marseille. They don't have the financial powers of Paris Saint-Germain or Monaco. Exactly. But even after Bielsa, blasted out the president of the club, saying that he didn't bring him any of the players he asked for, still, his system works out so far. They're top of the league after not winning both of the starting first games, and now they look better. I think they don't have the power, to hang on with PSG, but they are aiming for third place, Champions League, second, third, and that is doable.
Very interesting to see, and we're joined now by Michael Friedman, I-24 news reporter. Michael, what's the press saying about Bielsa? Is he bringing all that madness we have seen in Argentina, in Chile, in Bilbao, perhaps?
Yeah, Marcelo Bielsa's getting so much press. His nickname is Loco Bielsa, and he's making so much noise around because now he's bringing the team to the top spot, and this win over Rennes 3-0 is what they needed to move forward. And the bigger story that has been going on was the fact that he hasn't been getting along with the president. The president had made all these signings without him even knowing. Bielsa was quoted saying, "None of the players that joined with my approval, I proposed 12 and none of them came." So he's not so happy with the president, but the fact that they're winning, it's a nice sign. And the next big story besides for Bielsa was Gignac. Gignac scored twice. He leads the French league with 6 goals, and currently it's looking as if this is the player for them to make them stay on top.
And Amit, if you fight with the president and you still keep the job, that means you're strong.
Yeah, everybody was expecting him to leave. But there is another side to the story. Bielsa, the fans are not very happy with their president and their directors. And Bielsa was kind of a man that can put off the pressure because they bought a very, very well-known and respected international coach. So all the pressure is on him to deliver. And we saw Gignac, who we saw, was a player for the French national team. And he had problems with his weight. He was not so professional, and now he's coming back to his good old days, and it's really lovely to watch so far.
And while Marseille, together with Bordeaux and Saint-Etienne, are running high champions, Paris Saint-Germain are struggling to find their form. They won only 2 out of 6 in France. Last night it was another draw at home against Lyon. Amit, PSG are clearly not at their best, but they don't lose, which means they're close enough.
Yeah, but there is big pressure on Laurent Blanc, the coach, and on the team. They are very, unsatisfied. The last 3 games, they had the lead, and they conceded goals, and it ended draw. Even in the Champions League, they are very unimpressive. And Laurent Blanc is expected to lead this team very far in Europe, at least to the Champions League semi-final. So far, it doesn't look good. 4 draws in 6 league games, and very uninspiring football. And Blanc knows that he must improve. Otherwise, the owner from Qatar, Nasser Khalifi, won't be patient.
Yeah, we know, Michael. There's not a lot of patience in a team with so much money. If it doesn't work, soon enough.
The amount of money they put in, £50 million for David Luiz. I mean, they expect to win not just the league, but this is the time they want to go and get past the group stages and win the Champions League. So the press is pushing them to win, and this start is not looking good for them.
Absolutely. And in other results from France, Bordeaux beat Evian 2-1. Metz beat Bastia 3-1. As a team from Corsica now gets used to life without Brandao, who was suspended until February, and Saint-Etienne win 1-0 in Lens. 3 teams lead the French league. None of them is Paris Saint-Germain or Monaco. Marseille, Bordeaux, and Saint-Etienne all have 13 points. Lille is 4th with 1 point less, and the champions are now only 5th with 10 points. Monaco finally won this weekend, coming just a few days after they won in the Champions League, giving the club from the Riviera some air following a poor start to the season. But the fans are not impressed, as they expect much more from the billionaire club, as Lies Barenboim and Michael Friedman report.
There's a crisis at Monaco football. In September, the fans formally requested a refund for their season tickets, accusing the managers of selling the promise of the club. Many fans are frustrated with the summer transfer window that saw the departure of their star players Falcao, who went on loan to Manchester United, and James Rodriguez, who was sold to Real Madrid for 90 million euros. Yet in August 2013, the club made a comeback among the French elite. They even booked their place in the Champions League after finishing second in Ligue 1 behind PSG. But this year, with a deficit of 100 million euros, the president and owner of the club decided to make changes. He recruited younger and less expensive players like the goalkeeper, Paul Nardi, to cover the club's debt. It appears the official culprit is a new financial fair play regulation which was imposed by UEFA. This would require clubs to find cheaper alternatives. In order to hold up this club, it will now take the collective to help Monaco.
C'est que collectivement qu'on s'en sortira.
It is collectively that we will need to survive. I am convinced, and as the coach says, we have the quality. After this quality, it must be put at the service of the team.
Il faut la mettre au service du collectif.
The new coach, Leonardo Jardim, cannot bring Monaco back to the top spot in the French league. The Portuguese coach is aware of the policy changes that have been imposed.
It's very important to underline that the project has changed. The players and the technicians which remain must work with the same attitude and the same belief. It's possible to win in the Champions League because we are very motivated. Furthermore, at home, we can combat against the three opposing teams.
But the salvation could come from the Champions League. After 10 years, Monaco is finally back in the Champions League in a balanced group and won their first match against Bayer Leverkusen, which gives the fans high hopes. But the turnaround is still a major problem. The benefactors of Monaco took off, and the Russian tycoon may even leave the club. Who will save this shaky Monaco club?
And Amit, the question is, all these oligarchs, they come in, they pour in big money. If they move away, it's going to be a problem, especially in a club like Monaco with no big tradition, no big stadium.
Monaco actually, they have some titles. They have tradition in terms of results. They were in the Champions League final
against
10
Porto.
years ago. But the problem is that they don't have any audience. Their games 2 years ago, you could have in the second division, you could have bought in €5 tickets, and still it was empty. Most of the seats was empty. So it's problematic, especially when you take into account the financial fair play. And it's the ambition of one man who has his interest in Monte Carlo and Monaco, and he's a very close friend of Prince Albert, So. It's a problematic, but after selling this summer James Rodriguez and Falcao, I think everybody see that their intentions are not that.
And what is the press in the Riviera saying? We were expecting them to do big last season. They didn't do it. Now I think expectations should go further away.
There's much frustrations with the club because the fact that James Rodriguez was sent to Real Madrid and Falcao to United. The press sees that they're not doing what they're needed to be strong, to continue, and ultimately not to be able to compete with the top teams in the league.
And now when we speak of France, of course, we will always follow Euro 2016, but it's the Euro that comes after that will be especially interesting, as Euro 2020 will be played in 13 different venues. Jerusalem will unfortunately not be one of them, but at least international action returned to Israel after it was taken away during Operation Protective Edge. And Amit, I have to ask you, the fact that games will be spread over 13 countries from Azerbaijan in the east to London that will host the semifinals and the finals in the west, good or bad?
I don't like the idea. I think the special atmosphere, cohesion, and energy of such a tournament.
Everyone is there together.
Exactly.
That's the whole
You
point
must
of
have
it.
one host nation. It's also better for the fans logistically. If you have to travel to Azerbaijan or Bilbao, Amsterdam, München,
It's like traveling to Brazil, basically, going from Azerbaijan to London.
Exactly, and you lose all the special atmosphere, that the host nation really has, and that's the main issue. I think you do have some advantages, is why to do that economically, especially, and the tournament could spread to small countries as well, like Azerbaijan or Israel, in the future. But I don't like the idea. I think all the special of this kind of tournament, we're gonna lose it.
And And again, the question is what will happen in 2024. We're already hearing of bids for one country.
Exactly. We are unsure what will happen. Germany said, Germany was actually, they wanted the final of 2020 to be in Berlin. There were reports saying that they had a deal with the English, this time to support Wembley, and next time. But the Germans...
You vote for me, I vote for you.
Exactly. And it probably did happen, though both sides, they... not
Don't
willing
quote
to tell.
us, but it happened.
Exactly. But Germany said it wants to host all the tournament, not only the semi-final and final. So we will have to see. It's actually, an experience. We have to see if it works or not. And then I think we'll be smarter.
Well, before that, we have Euro 2016 in France, the World Cup in 2018 in Russia, but it will obviously be very interesting. Amit Lewinthal, Michael Friedman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for this edition of Talking Football. Thank you for watching and have a beautiful day.